would have the same attitude towards the flag, because you have great parents who have taught you. You come to these assemblies and you can hear a pin drop. And I just want you to know how much we appreciate it. We know that you know how grateful and lucky you are to live in this land that you live in. There's a little poem that someone said on my desk. I had no idea who it was from or who said it on my desk, and I just want to read it to you. It says, "I sit down by my warm fireplace while the snow is falling gently outside. I don't think of freedom. When I go to the movies and laugh with my friends, I don't think about the soldiers who have died. When I sit down for a home-cooked meal with my loving family, I don't think about the blood that has been shed. When I lay out on my trampoline, looking up at the bright stars that twinkle and shine across the sky, I don't think about the others, about the comforts, the freedom that I have. I rarely think about freedom. It rarely crosses my mind, but maybe I should." I'm grateful that someone left this poem on my desk, and I'm so grateful for all of you for your great attitude and your respect that you show. You look amazing. I'm grateful that Mr. Lydiard is so willing to let us do this assembly. Thank you very much.
This poem is titled "The Stranger." One lovely summer day, as I was walking through the grass, reflecting on the fondest memories of my past, I passed an unfamiliar place and stopped a while to see, completely unsuspecting of the change this place would bring. I stood before a wall of names, 251, engraved upon a monument that pierced the shining sun. And though to all these names I was a stranger passing by, I looked upon these names and there was one that caught my eye. It may have been a moment, or an hour, or a year. I walked up to the name and leaned in close so I could hear. I closed my eyes and listened to the pure and priceless truth, and came to understand the love of which this wall is proof. It said that he who bears the very greatest love of all will sacrifice his life before he'll see a dear friend fall. Though people often wonder whether such a man is real, I see him now through these engraven letters that I feel. He's sitting with his brother, telling stories as they laugh, of the greatest games he'll ever pitch, of the biggest fish he'll catch. He's standing by his colors on the hillside far away. He's diving through the amber fire while others run away. I search through all my memories of the noble and the grand, the courage and the truth that I've been taught to understand. Of all the stories that are told, this shall be told of you. Dear soldier, how you gave your life for those you knew.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity to be here this day. First of all, I know we have a lot of veterans in our audience. I just want all of our veterans to please stand real quick, please. As Mr. Lydiard said, my name is Mark Harrison. I'm a retired Master Sergeant with the Utah Army National Guard. I served for over 35 years in the military, 26 years on active duty with the Army National Guard here in the state of Utah. I'm proud of my service. I'm also very proud of 3 of my 4 sons that also served in the military alongside of me. My oldest son, Brady, who is still serving, Kyle, that's here today, and our youngest son, Brett. All have served in various places. Kyle and Brett both. Kyle served in Afghanistan, and Brett served 2 tours in Iraq. What a wonderful way to start our day. The band was absolutely fantastic. When they play that song, it's hard for me not to kind of lose my emotions for a few moments just thinking about that song, and when it's played and when it's heard throughout the world, everyone knows it. Everyone knows what it stands for. Most Americans profess to truly love our veterans, especially at gatherings like this on Veterans Day. And while their feelings are usually sincere, it is important to remember that veterans are defending us 365 days a year. The heroism that has been demonstrated time and time again by veterans, from the American Revolution to the global war on terrorism, is sometimes unnoticed by those of us who enjoy the security and freedoms that they provide. Our debt to these heroes can never be repaid, but our gratitude and respect must be forever. For many veterans, our nation was important enough to endure long separations from families, serve in faraway places, serve in danger, miss family occasions, miss the birth of children, freeze in sub-zero temperatures, bake in the wild jungles and deserts, suffering injuries, and far too often losing their lives. You cannot fight a war without veterans. Let us not forget the wars that obliterated slaves, stopped genocide, and stopped terrorism. Stephen Ambrose once wrote, "America's wars have been like rungs on a ladder by which it rose to greatness. No other country has triumphed so long, so consistently, on such a vast scale, fighting for freedom." It is often said that without our veterans, that we may be speaking a different language. We may be speaking Russian, German, or perhaps even Japanese. Regardless of which view you take, we do know that without our veterans, America would not be the America we know, the land of the free and the home of the brave. Veterans don't ask for much. They don't want to be in a special class. And while not all veterans see war, all who have served in the military have expressed a willingness to fight if called to do so. Historians have said that Dwight D. Eisenhower was prouder of being a soldier than he was of being the President of the United States of America. And while relatively few veterans ever achieved the rank of general, pride in one's military service is a bond shared by nearly all of us that have served. Fewer than 10% of Americans can call themselves veterans. Veterans have given us freedom, security, and the greatest nation on earth. It is impossible to put a price on that, and we must remember them. We must appreciate them. We must honor these American veterans. We must remember those who gave their all for the freedoms that we enjoy. Veterans Day was originally set aside on November 11th, 1919, after World War I, the war to end all wars. In 1954, President Eisenhower officially changed it from what was then called Armistice Day to what we now call Veterans Day. In other countries, Britain, France, Canada, and other European countries, they also celebrate Remembrance Day. And in many countries and throughout the Commonwealth of England, on November 11th, at 11 a.m., they stand for 2 minutes of silence. These brave men and women who serve and protect the United States of America come from all walks of life. They're parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters. They're your friends, your neighbors, your co-workers. And they are important to our communities. Currently, there are about 23 million veterans in the United States of America. 2.3 million of those are women who have served in the military. And here in Utah, we think we have right around 180,000 veterans. Those who live today remember those who do not. Those who know freedom remember today those who gave up their life for freedom. Today, in honor of our dead, we conduct ceremonies like this, and also to honor the living, our veterans who served this great nation. We speak words of tribute, lay wreaths at tombs, and in our hearts, we hold them close to us still. Yet we also know, even as their families knew, when they last looked upon them, that they can never be fully ours again. That they now belong to God, and to that for which they so selflessly fought for their final act of devotion, for their final act of freedom. We could not forget them, even if they weren't our own. We could never forget them. For all time, that they are what we can only aspire to be. Giving unselfishly, an epitome of human love. To lay down one's life so that others might live and enjoy the freedoms that we have in this great nation. As life expired, we know that those who could have had their last thoughts of us and the love for their families, as they thought of us, so too we think of them now with love and devotion. With love for this great nation that has pledged itself to his work and to his dreams of freedom. I was one that others failed to do and did not want to be. I went where others feared to go and did what others feared to do. I asked nothing from those who gave nothing and reluctantly accepted the change of eternal loneliness should I fail. I have seen the fear of terror, felt the stinging cold of fear, and enjoyed the sweet taste of those eternal moments of love and freedom. But most of all, I have lived times others would say would be best forgotten. At least someday I will be able to say that I was proud of what I was. A soldier, an American, a veteran. God bless all of you for being here this day. God bless our veterans, and God bless this great country, the United States of America. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Killing me this football's card. As always in my career, it's an honor for me to be able to follow up my dad. I enlisted in the Army National Guard, the Utah Army National Guard in 2000, and had follow-on basic training, AIT as a medical supply specialist, and then airborne training at Fort Benning, Georgia. I currently serve as the Senior Logistics Engineer for the 19th Special Forces Group. We're out of Camp Williams. I've been honored in my career to, or privileged in my career to be able to deploy all across the world, either in supportive training exercises or actual deployments. I've been to Morocco twice, Nicaragua, Korea, Thailand, the Philippines. I was able to go down in Louisiana and support the hurricane relief efforts in 2004, and then this time last year I deployed to Afghanistan in support of Operation Enduring Freedom and Resolute Support. I have my wife, Janae, and I sitting up here. We went to school it was a few years ago. I think there's still a few familiar faces around here. So it's good to be back here and good to be back here speaking to you guys. My daughter Jaylee's sitting up here, my son Jesse, and my son Jason. So they're here with me today, and I'm thankful for that. My dad had all the veterans stand up, and every one of those that stood up, they have their own story to tell. Some of them pretty willing to tell it, some of them maybe not so much. All of them have sacrificed, all of them have done their duty. All of them have served their country. And I'm here with you this morning. I just would like to share, some of my experiences and some stories about my deployment. I've got the PowerPoint going behind me, just some pictures from my deployment to Afghanistan. Some funny, some of the stuff we did. So hopefully that'll take your mind off of me, but listen to me, look at the pictures. We'll try and explain some of them as we go. Being a service member instills a personal patriotism. My dad spoke on that. It also inspires you to emotion when you feel patriotic as well. Patriotism to me is being proud of where you're from, doing your duty to repay what has been given, and standing for what is right, remembering those that came before you. General Douglas MacArthur summed it up best in a speech to West Point cadets. He spoke on duty, honor, country, and quote, "Duty, honor, country, those three hallowed words, reverently dictate what you ought to be, what you can be, and what you will be. They are your rallying points, to build courage when courage seems to fail, to regain faith when there seems to be little cause for faith, to create hope when hope becomes forlorn," end quote. And I believe that our nation's flag, that stands for the sacrifices that are made on our behalf. It is a banner that envelops the ideals of duty, honor, and country. It represents our best self and remembers those that have given before us and gives hope of the great things still to come. My mom and dad always taught us to remember who you are and what you stand for. I'm sure some of you have probably heard that as well. They've been great examples of patriotism to my brothers, myself, our children, and our wives and our spouses. I've been blessed to be able to follow in the footsteps of this great guy sitting here next to me, and my brothers that have served as well. I know personally the sacrifices that are made by military family members. I, along with a small group of Utah soldiers, we got notice about the 1st of October last year that, hey, you might be deploying to Afghanistan, maybe start getting your stuff ready. By the 24th of October, we actually touched down in Bagram, Afghanistan. So within about 3 weeks, it was, hey, you might be going to, oh, hey, you arrived in Afghanistan. During those quick 3 weeks, there's a lot of self-doubt, a lot of thoughts that come up. Have I done enough? Have I done enough to prepare my family? Have I done enough to prepare myself to be ready to go? I don't know that any of those veterans that stood up would ever answer that question with a yes. I think it's a resounding no across, but part of that is depending on those in the community, those that you're going over with, that they're going to take care of things when you don't have enough to make it all the way. I know some of you that are sitting in this audience stepped up and helped out my family, and I'm thankful for it. Arriving in the theater for the first time, it's almost surreal. Your brain's overloaded trying to take in every detail as you step foot on the ground, trying to look, what's going on, where do I need to be, what's going on with it. The surprising thing about Afghanistan, you probably see it in a few of these pictures, is it looks a lot like Western Utah. However, it's got a different feel to it. There are so many uncertainties that are out there, just different culture, different customs, and in a combat zone, the feeling is almost electric. Just the air, you can feel it around you. A few days after arriving in Bagram, we boarded a helicopter en route to a camp that we'd call home for the next 6 months. Our camp, it was a small plot of land located just outside of Kabul, which is the capital city of Afghanistan. It literally is about 150 yards square all the way around. As we drove onto the camp from the helicopter landing zone, the first thing that you see as you come onto camp, and there's a few pictures here, are the flagpole. The flagpole standing there to greet you. And I've been all around the world, and that is one of the most welcoming sights that you can ever see, is to see that American flag flying. And especially so, being in a combat zone. I was assigned a room, and the first things that I hung on the wall were pictures of my family and a 3 foot by 5 foot American flag. And that was really all I needed to remind me of being home, kind of my own little comfortable place. Our mission over there was to mentor, train, advise, and assist our Afghan counterparts. Each day we would work directly with the Afghans to try to enable them to be able to do the job for themselves. The Afghans are hardworking, industrious people. If they want to get something done, they'll make it happen. As a country, they do not have much, but they make the best they do with what they have. You'll see some of these pictures up here, but we used local Afghans that spoke English. They were our interpreters, and they were critical to our mission success. They were our bond between, what we had to teach the Afghans and relaying the words that we had to say to them. I sent an email home in regards to Khan, and if a picture comes up, I'll point him out. But Khan was my interpreter. He was the guy that I worked with day in and day out. And the email was just kind of let my family know, what it was like over there. And I think it kind of sums it up. But I've gotten to know my interpreter, Khan, pretty well. He is a good man and a religious man. I would guess him to be in his early 40s. He's quick to smile and tell a funny story. He's smart and a very hard worker. As I get to know him, it makes me more and more thankful for all the things that I have at home. Khan lives in a small Afghan compound home with his wife, who is expecting their first child in February. There are also 11 other people who live in the same home with him. All of them family, including his mom. He and 2 other males work and combine their paychecks to make ends meet. This is a normal Afghan home life. A good salary over here is around $400 per month. The unemployment rate right now is about 70%. Khan and his wife were awakened last night by an explosion from one of the many suicide attacks that happen over here. On his way into work a few months ago, he had a vehicle pass his taxi and blow up an Afghan National Police vehicle within 100 yards of him. Just another day in Kabul. Like I said, he's a good man and still quick to smile. I truly believe that he works with us for 2 reasons. The pay is comfortably good, and he wants to see a better Afghanistan. Like most Afghans, though, he is trying to get his family and himself to the United States. He has had to take a few vacation days to travel to find a good dentist for his pregnant wife. Healthcare is a whole different story over here. Most hospitals will give referrals to illegitimate doctors outside so they can receive kickbacks. It makes me thankful for all that I have. That's the end of the email. And that's just to you guys. Can you imagine, on your way into school, if you had to worry about IEDs or suicide bombers? It really, truly does open your eyes to make you thankful for all that you have. Each day we'd return to our camp from training the Afghans. We had to travel slightly back downhill. The slope was not enough to overlook our camp, but it was enough to see our nation's flag flying proudly beside the Afghans. There were several times that I was struck by the words that I'd heard Colonel Steve Wilson speak, a fellow veteran. He spoke on his tours in Vietnam and being out in the jungle and seeing the flag and knowing that the flag represented comfort and peace. knowing that it meant security. Where the flag is, so are fellow Americans. Our camp was located very closely to a major highway that was a known avenue used by insurgents. These were the people that wanted to do bad things to us and to our Afghan counterparts. Our nation's flag flew proudly beside the Afghan flag, just 150 yards up that freeway. They let all who know saw that we were in this fight together. Some would have looked at it as a security risk to expose our position like that. We proudly viewed it as our little piece of U.S. soil. President Calvin Coolidge said, quote, "We identify the flag with almost everything we hold dear on earth. Peace, security, liberty, our family, our friends, our home. But when we look at our flag, we behold it emblazoned with all our rights. We must remember that it is equally a symbol of our duties. Every glory that we associate with it is a result of duty done." During my tour, I ensured the flag that was hung in my room was flown over our camp for a day, and I proudly presented it to my dad. And I did have a picture of a certificate that I gave to him that said, "This flag of the United States of America has been proudly flown in the face of the enemy over Bob Jones." My dad displays that flag with two others that my little brother Brett got from his 2 tours in Iraq. A few months into our deployment, I had to travel back up to Bagram. While I was up there, I was honored to be a part of a memorial ceremony for Sergeant First Class Michael Cathcart. I've got a picture of him in this slideshow. But Sergeant Cathcart paid the ultimate sacrifice while serving his country. While I was there, the command had set up a monument to Sergeant Cathcart. In front of the flag, flying at half-mast, were his well-worn combat boots. In between those were a rifle and a bayonet. Placed on top of the rifle was his combat helmet, and hanging off were a pair of his dog tags. Every service member in camp came out, quietly and somberly took a knee and paid their last respects to Sergeant Cathcart, to this fallen warrior who had gave it all for his country. This experience reminded me of another time in my career when I was deeply touched by the outpouring of support and patriotism for a fallen hero. I was selected to be part of a military entourage for a funeral procession for a local hero, Specialist Cody Tass, and I've got a picture of him up there as well. I drove a military ambulance to propel a soldier from the Provo Airport to Specialist Tass's home in Elk Ridge. The entire route was covered with flags and support for his family. The outpouring of support from the Utah Valley community, the Utah County community, brought such feelings of pride and gratitude that my friend and I that were driving the ambulance had to hold back tears of gratitude that we felt for the support for one of our own. The state of Utah is an awesome place. During our deployment, I really think that we set a record for most care packages received. Our little camp, we were overloaded with care packages from kids from schools like yours throughout the state, church groups, Boy Scout groups, I mean, you name it. We had to make a storage location in our operations center just to put all this stuff, which was awesome because we were serving with Slovaks. I've got a few pictures of them up here as well, the Slovakian Special Forces soldiers. And they were overwhelmed. They couldn't believe it. In their home country, they don't get the support that we get. They are viewed as a tax burden, and their service and their sacrifice to their country and for the betterment of the world, it's not appreciated by their fellow countrymen. So we, of course, shared with them and let them know that, hey, these are from Utah, these are from where we're from. Our time came to be relieved, and we started to make our way back home. Our little group stepped aboard a C-17 airplane, and 2 days later, with layovers, we stepped off on the U.S. soil. Words cannot express the gratitude, the feelings of humbleness that you feel when you step back onto U.S. soil. It was evening in North Carolina when we arrived, and the sun was just setting behind the Carolina clouds. The beauty of the sunset matched our elation of being back in the United States. You cannot help but feel overcome with a sense of joy and comfort and gratitude. We walked off the tarmac. We were met by a group of soldiers from Utah. They, of course, had a bunch of little Caesar's pizzas there for us. Cheap pizza, tasted good. It was awesome. About 4 days after that, we boarded a plane bound for Utah. And I've never been more excited for anything in my life. I was glued to the window of that airplane as we came, over the Wasatch Front back into Utah. Those that met us at the airport are true personal patriots. They're the ones that stood and sacrificed while we were gone. They say, and I think all my family that's sitting up here in the front row can attest to it, that the hardest job in the military is a military family member. I don't think you can meet anyone more patriotic than a military family member. There are so many people in this community, that gave of themselves and looked after my family while I was away. I'm forever grateful for all of you. This is what makes this community so great. So many of you and so many of your parents are more than willing to go that extra mile for people that need your help. I ask that all of you, even though you're young, can still give of yourself to make this a better place. Don't be afraid to be thankful for where you come from. Be examples of patriotism and of sacrifice. Show respect to the flag and all that it holds dear. Honor those that came before you and respect the sacrifices that have been made on all of our behalf. Be willing to give of yourself. President Ronald Reagan said, quote, "Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. Or one day we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was once like to live in the United States when men were free." You all sitting in this audience right now are that conduit. You are the ones that are going to carry freedom on to the next generation, and I challenge all of you to do that, to be that example to those around you. Thank you for letting me speak to you this morning. May God bless you all. May God bless and continue to bless this great country that we love, the USA.